What's going on? VitalSyntax here, and we're talking more about DayZ Standalone. It's going to be kind of my predictions video on what we're going to see changed with this full version of the game. This is somewhat based off of things that have already been confirmed that they've already been working on, or things they've already finished working on, and just things that people have requested. And also some of this stuff is just no-brainer stuff that you would expect for them to change and update for a full version going from DayZ mod. Really quickly, I want to point out in the gameplay you guys are watching, obviously it's DayZ, but it's the map Lingor Island, which has probably become my favorite map for DayZ, and I really hope to see it again in the Standalone, as well as all the other third-party maps like Namalsk and Tavian. I really hope that they have the tools they need to recreate all these maps for the Standalone version of the game. But I wanted to point out that I actually ran into some subscribers just randomly in this game, and they were willing to come pick me up, give me gear, took me to their base, which is really well fortified. And if you're wondering, this is actually a base that spawned in by the server. It wasn't hacked in or anything like that. It's just one of the features that some servers implement, so don't worry about that. But I just wanted to say thank you to the subscribers that picked me up, gave me gear, and got this gameplay for me. So thanks a lot, guys. You guys are awesome. So the first thing that I expect to be fixed with this standalone version of DayZ is one of the things that they've been working the most on, and that is the countermeasures to hacking. So as it sits right now in the game, there's a lot of client-side interaction. That means that a lot of the calculations for where your character is, what type of items he has, is all calculated on the client side of things. And they did this on purpose because Arma 2 is a game that's meant to be modded, a game that's meant to be expandable. And so it's very open and it's very easy to run scripts that maybe teleport certain players to an area of the map, or kill all the players, or spawn items that aren't even in the game, or at least not in DayZ. They might be in Arma 2, or just nuking the entire server. Those are some really big issues that public Hive servers run into. So what they're doing to counter this with the standalone version of the game is they're moving to a server-side implementation, which is kind of seen as like the MMO style, which is, you know, obviously a lot of massive multiplayer online games implement this server-side type of environment for games. That way, all of these calculations for like what type of items your character has, where your character is located, what type of health he has, you know, all these other this information about your character is all calculated and stored on a server. That way, it can't just be tampered with by somebody on their local computer. Now, I'm guessing this is all going to be fixed. I'm guessing, you know, things like teleporting, spawning items, all that stuff is going to be probably fixed right out of the gate with the standalone version once they, you know, have it through the alpha and beta testing. It's actually out and released to the public. But there can still be hacking. There can still be what's called like client-side hacking, things like aimbots or wall hacks. And even in some of the, you know, AAA titles today, like Battlefield 3, that have fairly good anti-hack measures with Punkbuster, which Punkbuster isn't perfect either, but Battlefield 3 has been fairly hack-free. I mean, if you join a server today, most of them are not going to be riddled with hackers like they are in DayZ. But they can still have client-side hacks, because those are things that are actually calculated on the client's computer. Things like seeing through walls. You basically just don't render certain textures or certain objects. Or being able to have aimbots, because, I mean, those players are being rendered or calculated on your computer anyway, even if you can't see them. So they might do some type of tampering to the RAM that's loaded the game, or something to the graphics card that allows them to see through walls or see other players or just lock onto other players. Those are things that might come about after, you know, a couple weeks or a month or so after DayZ comes out, and that's something that we're just going to have to hope gets updated and fixed as, you know, people release hacks for the game, because it's kind of inevitable with a PC game like this that people are going to at least try and hack it. And now that they might fix a lot of these other hacking issues, some of the client-side hacks might kind of arise and have to be patched later on in the life cycle of the game. So another big issue that I expect to be fixed primarily for the standalone version of DayZ is all of the bugs and glitches that often occur by just playing the game in a normal way. Things like zombies walking indoors. Believe it or not, that's actually a bug in the game. They're not supposed to do that. A lot of people think that that's how the game was designed, but they've actually removed that already. I've seen a couple of tweets by the development team that they've removed that that aspect of the zombies, and now they'll actually move faster than a walk indoors. I can kind of be a little bit freaked out by that, because typically when I play DayZ, if you're gonna avoid zombies or run into zombies and have to shoot them, you usually want to get indoors so they're walking. So hopefully they turn down the speed or something to kind of even that out. But another thing is like zombies attacking through walls or just straight up walking through walls. That's a ridiculous glitch that will probably be fixed. Probably just has to do with the collision of those certain characters. Things like accidentally deleting items from your bag, your inventory, duplicating items was a big thing. They've patched that a couple times, but there's still a couple different ways that you can go about duplicating certain items. All the graphic artifacts, I think those were primarily fixed with the barbed wire and the dead soldiers a while back in some of the updates for DayZ, or for the DayZ mod, but there's still some graphic artifacting, weird, crazy things going on in the graphics that just completely destroy your vision or of certain areas of the map. Combat logging, that's a huge one. Players leaving in the middle of combat. I'm guessing, and I've heard rumors that what they're doing is whenever you log out of a server, even if your computer is completely turned off, the server will still calculate your character for a 10-second period or so, maybe a 30-second period, so that even if you log out completely and you unplug your computer from the wall, your character is still on the server for a set amount of time. That way, if you do just unplug your internet cable when you're about to get in the fight, you can still get killed, which is the way it should be. Also things like all the random broken legs and bleeding that happens. I mean, if you just like walk over a rock or a stump, or you accidentally drop like 4 feet and break your leg, I'm guessing those are bugs and glitches that will be fixed in the standalone. There's also a bunch of like ammo glitches where you can reload your ammo by like combining it for different types of magazines or different types of clips for different weapons, or if you just log out of the server and log back in sometimes, or if the server restarts, a lot of times the ammo count will refill. Another big bug is the random spawn points, like spawning in the middle of the ocean or spawning in the debug forest, things like that. Those are all bugs and glitches I think we can all expect to be fixed with the standalone, because number one, they've already been talked about, they've already been addressed, and that they're working on them, and number two, they're kind of game-breaking issues that you would expect to be fixed, not necessarily right away, but once the alpha and beta have come and gone, I think those glitches and bugs will be fixed. Another huge thing that we can expect, and I hope will be updated for the standalone, is the graphic performance. So higher resolution textures is something we've already heard that they're working on. They have a couple new texture artists working on improved resolution for textures. Better frame rate is a huge one. I think that has to do with the implementation of the zombies. So if they're rewriting a lot of that system with the server and just how the game operates and rendering zombies and spawning zombies and things like that, I think that's going to be something we'll see a huge boost in frame rate. Stability, I mean, I don't really have a huge issue with stability, but I know some people do on certain cards or certain setups. And then also, once again, graphic artifacts, which we already talked about, but that's something that we kind of expect to be fixed. That's mostly fixed already. All right, so now that I've gone over, the bugs and glitches and hacking and kind of the graphics of the game, the biggest part that I think needs to be updated and fixed and tweaked is the gameplay, because that's where the core of DayZ is at. So some of the things that I hope they add or they change for the standalone version is more items. I mean, there's a lot of items in DayZ or in Arma 2 that aren't used in DayZ, and I hope that they add new weapons, add new gear, or add new vehicles that are already designed and implemented in Arma 2, or maybe they just create them from scratch and bring those into DayZ, because why not? I mean, there's no real reason. I mean, I guess there are some balancing issues, like things like having thermal vision is kind of cheap, but I think it'd be nice to have more items from Arma 2. Also, a new user interface has already been talked about and kind of announced. We don't know what it's going to look like or any screenshots or video of that, but hopefully it's a lot more user-friendly. New inventory system, once again, a huge deal for not deleting items or just actually knowing how to use it, because right now, until you get over that little hump of learning curve, the inventory system is actually quite confusing and it doesn't really work very well. New looting system, basically what I mean by this is where items spawn, how they spawn. Are they more dynamic? Are they, not just on the floor? They'll be on tables, on bookshelves, on window sills. instead of just like in a little pile on the floor, and also having more random spawns, because the spawn points are a little bit predictable, and I would hope that there maybe be more crashed helicopters or more just random loot spawns around the map, so there's less concentration on, you know, hot points like the Northwest Airfield. Another thing is improvements to player interactions, maybe having like the ability to raise your hands if you're getting like held up or something, so they don't have to shoot you or something like that. Because I mean, there is a way that you can lower your weapon, but you can just raise it instantly. So maybe have some type of system where it's not you know, an instant raising of your weapon. I think a really cool feature would be a friends list type of badge. So it sucks when you shoot your friend and you think he's, you know, an enemy player, and that can happen from time to time, especially if you guys aren't in-game communications, or, you know, Mumble, TeamSpeak, or Skype or something like that, talking to each other. So maybe having like a little patch on your shoulder that has your clan tag or your clan symbol or something like that, or just has like a green color if they're on your friends list, something like that would be a really cool way that's not super intrusive, that would allow you to see who's on your friends list, or maybe who's friendly and who's like a bandit or something like that. Another huge thing that they've added already is all the new building interiors. Now, this might have a pretty big hit on frame rate, which is something I'm a little worried about, but hopefully it won't. Hopefully they've done it in a way that will, you know, not impact the performance that much. But basically all the interiors for Chernarus Plus, they're calling it now, have been completed, and that's going to be a huge game changer for the looting of items as well. Also, new map locations, just completely new areas that they've added to Chernarus Plus. I heard they're adding more backstory to the game, more maybe hidden aspects about how the outbreak of the zombie apocalypse happened, or maybe like where your character came from, who he is, things like that. Some backstory, although that's not necessarily required. I think it'd be kind of cool just to have it added on. Better server browser. The in-game server browser for Arma 2 sucks, and if you're using it, go try DayZ Commander. It's so much better. Or even the 6 launcher updater. Those things are even a little bit better, but DayZ Commander is like the best thing ever that's happened to DayZ. So hopefully they have a way better in-game server browser, and hopefully maybe they can take some cues from DayZ Commander about all its filters and features that it has. And then also, finally, better server controls. I've run a server for a little bit over a month now, I think, or maybe a little bit less than a month, so not super long, and there's not a whole lot of tools that are out there available for server admins. There are a couple, and they're all third-party, and they're all in like alpha, and they're all glitchy and buggy and crashy, but I would hope that they would have some more options for, you know, like banning players, kicking players, whitelists, spawning items, changing maps, doing all the type of server control stuff that you need to run a server properly. So anyway, that kind of wraps up my predictions, hopes, and fears for the standalone version of DayZ. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any other predictions for the standalone that I missed, or if you guys have any like requests or wish list type of items that you want to see in the full game. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.